Hey everybody, Joseph Rothschild here, aka Mono Bluetron, back again with another episode of 10-Minute Testing. So today we're playing a deck that a bunch of y'all have been begging me to do, and I have been dreading pulling up because I know I can't do it justice. I'm speaking, of course, about Amazonas, an old, awful archetype that will shortly be bolstered by some cool new support. By using the Zodiac engine to do some uncharacteristically unbroken things, we can consistently make the new fusion monster and see just how far Can't Be Destroyed by Battle can get us in 2017. So here's the list. Now, I'm sure you can tell that I'm playing some absolutely terrible cards, so I'll give you a second to take it in. As always, I'll give a little bit of background about the archetype, a discussion of what I hope the deck can do, and as always, the card by card. So first, for those of you who don't know, Amazonas is an archetype from the ancient and early days of Yu-Gi-Oh! When archetypes didn't actually have to do anything, and they were basically just collections of similarly named cards. The one thing all the Amazonases had in common is that they're all Earth Warrior monsters, and they've received a few waves of support, but unfortunately each wave has been underpowered compared to the cards around it. It's created an archetype that is slow, unreliable, and underwhelming. However, the new releases of Amazonas Priestess, Ambush, Call, and Empress, and to a lesser extent Baby Tiger, Spy, and Liger, that's right, there's actually a canon Liger in Yu-Gi-Oh!, make the best argument yet for giving the deck a shot. Now, we've jammed a Zoo engine in here for a couple of reasons. Firstly, since you need so many cards to assemble a powerful opening board, Zoo lets us do the old plus bonanza and get so far ahead that minusing ourselves won't matter. Secondly, it lets us search a polymerization while protecting the monster that will ultimately polymerize. And finally, the two new Amazon releases are a pretty good rank 3 engine, and you know what they say, where there's an MX Saber Invoker, there is a way to play Zoo. Hopefully we've assembled a cool combo deck with tons of play that finishes with several pieces of interaction on our opponent's turn to protect our Empress. So, on to the card by card. First, we have 3 copies of Amazonas Queen. This card is, it's awful, obviously, but we need it for polymerizing into Empress. Empress also floats into her, even though you'll almost always want to float into Princess, so she's fine in a pinch. Next is 2 copies of Amazonas Paladin. She's an Invoker target and sets up rank 4 plays. We're playing 2, so we don't accidentally draw a Garnet. Honestly, she could be a lot worse. After that are 3 copies of Princess, which is an incredible card. She is Queen on the field or in the graveyard, and when she is normal or special summoned, you can add an Amazonas spell or trap to your hand. Finally, when she attacks, you can set a card from your hand or field to the grave in order to summon an Amazonas in defense from your deck. Helps with combat to grab Queen. Next is Amazonas Spy, which can be special just like alternative White Dragon, and shuffles an Amazonas if you ever happen to lose it in battle. Next is 1 Baby Tiger, which can special itself from hand or grave whenever an Amazon is summoned. Good fusion fodder, and I guess it's a blocker as well. Next are our Zoo people, 3 Whiptail, 1 Thoroughblade, and 2 Mormarat or Rat Pier, what have you. Rounding out the list is 1 copy of Lunalight Black Sheep next to the spells. 3 copies of Call. This card sets up your OTKs. It searches an Amazonas card from your deck and can banish to target an Amazonas you control and let it attack every monster your opponent controls. Pretty good. Next is 3 copies of Amazonas Village, which gives your girls 200 attack and makes them float into the same or a less leveled monster from your deck when they're destroyed. To get this field spell, we are playing 3 Set Rotation, which should probably be Terraformings, and 1 Gateway to Chaos, a hilarious card that, when combined with Set Rotation, will lock our opponent out of their field card zone. After that is 2 copies of Instant Fusion for rank 4 plays, 2 copies of Polymerization for fusing, and 3 copies of Zodiac Barrage for broken nonsense. For traps, we have 3 copies of Amazonas Ambush. This lets you summon an Amazonas from your hand during either player's battle phase and makes all of your monsters Ally of Justice Cataster. Finally, if it's destroyed, it summons an Amazonas from the graveyard. Last but not least, we have 1 copy of Solemn Warning. In the extra deck, we have 2 copies of Empress. This card makes all your other Amazonases indestructible to battle and card effects. It gives them piercing, and it floats if it leaves the field into a queen from hand, deck, or graveyard. Next is Liger, bred for its skills and magic. He can gain 500 attack during damage calculation, can nerf an opponent's attack by 800, and is the only Amazonas your opponent can attack. After that is Norden for obvious rank 4 plays, Utopia for OTKs if we ever summon 2 copies of Amazonas Queen, Tornado Dragon, Castell, Emerald for our rank 4s, Drident, what is this? Chakanese? I'm just going to call it Leica no matter what its name is. 1 Broad Bull, 1 Tiger Mortar for our Zoo people, 1 MX Saber Invoker, 1 Gram Pulse, and 1 Dante for our Mimetic rank 3 suite. So with that, let's jump into the games. Our first match is up against Cyber Dragon, and I mean that in every sense of the word, since we are actually playing someone named Cyber Dragon. True to form, they are playing Cyber Dragons. They are also playing some very interesting cards. Tribute to the Doomed, #1 Meta Call 2017. Sometimes you really need cards from your hand into the graveyard. We've opened pretty well. This is basically everything we could ever want. Let's go ahead and activate this set rotation, get ourselves an Amazoness Village, and then a Gateway to Chaos. We will then use our Broad Bowl to get ourselves a copy of Lunalight Black Sheep, then special summon our Amazoness Spy after we've made Drident, destroy our Spy with Drident, triggering Village to get Princess, use Princess's effect to get Call, use Call to get Queen, use Lunalight Black Sheep in order to get Polymerization, and then polymerize these two into Empress. Suddenly, we have ended with a pretty formidable board. Our opponent is going to start with Dark World dealings, then instant fuse their way into a Panzer Dragon. They'll summon this Zwei and use Tribute to the Doomed. I guess I'll destroy the Zwei in response, and then during end phase, they're going to use Panzer Dragon's effect to destroy our Empress. We're going to float into one copy of Queen and one copy of Princess because of Village and Empress's effect. This should be enough to kill them, especially with a Call in hand. This means that we'll be able to use Call to get ourselves a Spy, special summon Spy, use Barrage to destroy itself, and get a copy of Thoroughblade, normal summon Paladin, and suddenly we have built a lethal. Our second match is up against Paleo. Couldn't dodge meta forever. We've opened okay. Our hand is a little redundant with 2 copies of Princess and 2 copies of Village, but otherwise it's pretty strong. Unfortunately, we are not going first, which is not where this deck wants to be, especially against a deck that opened 4 pieces of interaction. As soon as we activate Village, they will activate Morella, sending a copy of Breakthrough Skill, and once we summon Princess, they'll flip up this Oleanades to destroy Village, then special summon Morella from their graveyard. This Princess is going to get us a copy of Call. We'll activate another Village. They'll flip this face down with Canadia and get another copy of Oleanades, and hilariously, I think I can still make things happen here. We'll use Elemental Triangle to go into Thoroughblade, then Tigress, then Bullhorn to get ourselves a copy of Lunalight Black Sheep, which we'll send for a Polymerization. Afterwards, we'll use Call to get a Queen, polymerize the set card and Queen from our hand, go into Drident, and then use Call on the Empress so she can attack every monster our opponent controls, effectively removing all of their ability to make rank 2s. They do get a copy of Swap Frog off of this Dupe Frog in the graveyard, but we do have a copy of Solemn Warning, so we might be fine. This is a little trick I learned from a Paleozoic friend of mine. If you activate Drident destroying one of your own cards in order to prevent a chained activation of one of their Paleos in graveyard, it puts you way ahead, especially when they don't have a lot of fodder left. This is pretty good for us, and they even chain the Breakthrough Skill just because I think they saw a yes in YGO Pro and did what they could. We'll flip up Solemn on this Frog, and that's the game. At this point, I've got a little bit of a buzz from beating an actually good meta deck, but unfortunately that buzz is pretty short-lived. Our third matchup is up against Super Heavy Samurai Kaiju, a deck that it sounds like we might have a pretty good matchup against. Unfortunately, we've opened very poorly. We don't have any of the Zodiac stuff that lets us survive the early game usually. We maybe can make a Polymerization play, provided we draw something pretty good. He's going to just equip a Giga Gloves with a Soul Piercer and pass back. We do draw into Call, which allows us to make the Empress play by getting a Queen. We're going to special the Tiger back and normal the Paladin, set this Ambush and Village, which allows us to at least get in for a fair amount of damage. Not nearly as much as I would have liked, because this Giga Gloves can, of course, banish itself to make our monsters attack 0. Unfortunately, we are in for a very rude awakening on our opponent's turn. They're going to summon Super Heavy Samurai Battle Ball, and then tribute for a Kaiju and go into Super Heavy Samurai, oh my god, Steam Fiend Tetsudo? This is a card I had never seen. It can discard 2 cards from your hand to destroy 2 on the field. Thankfully he does so, and one of the cards he destroys is Amazoness Ambush, which floats back into our Empress. This means that at least my monsters won't be destroyed by battle this turn, but I will take 4,800 points of damage, which is a little less than ideal. We draw into Garnet, and oh no, Gateway to Chaos in our hand. We have to draw something pretty good, pretty fast. I don't know if he can out a copy of Queen at this point, but I assume he can, and after a second Battle Ball, I don't have a lot of options remaining. He's going to destroy all of the cards on my side of the field, pass back to me, and I'm thinking I'm completely dead here. I draw into a Princess, which means that I might be alive, provided he outplays himself and destroys the card that I'm about to set, which is, of course, another copy of Ambush. I can't, actually use Ambush to banish things, because I'll die to the battle damage, but he goes ahead and outplays himself. Don't overthink it, Yu-Gi-Oh! Destroys my card, and allows me to return an Empress. Unfortunately, the Empress is not going to be enough, just allows me to survive for one more turn, and after I draw into a Solemn Warning, it is over. So we're back with the deck. Unfortunately, this isn't going to be taking down any regionals anytime soon. It's medium levels of consistent, and its backup plan is fine, but the unfortunate truth is that Empress is just not resilient enough of a threat to see play. The floating is nice, but she can be destroyed by battle, and with 30,000 copies of Dryden floating around, it's unlikely that summoning an Amazoness Queen from deck is going to be nearly enough to actually steal some games. Still, it's a fun and quirky strategy, and it's definitely suitable for online trolling. Just don't expect to show up at top tables at your next regional with a Liger in your extra. So that's that. I hope you enjoyed yet another video of my innate desire to jam Zoo into everything I play. If you want to see me play the decks I make on this show on stream, I'm on twitch.tv/monobluetron every Monday and Wednesday from 10 to noon Eastern Standard Time. Links are in the description. And if you have a certain deck or archetype you want to see me play on a future episode of this show, let me know in the comments section below, and I will do my best to accommodate you. Otherwise, I will see you Tuesday.